Welcome, brave souls, to another journey into the darkness. Prepare yourselves for a tale that will send shivers down your spine and haunt your dreams forever. I have prepared my most macabre terror story that I can think of to share with you, so brace yourselves, for this story will make your blood run cold and your heart race with dread. The Devil's Coachman, The Carriage from Hell. In the small, fog-covered town of Blackwood, there was an old tale that had been passed down through generations. It was a story that everyone knew, but no one dared to speak of after nightfall. They called it the Carriage from Hell. It was said that on darkest nights, when the moon was hidden and the air was thick with an unnatural chill, a black carriage would appear on the desert roads outside town. The carriage was no ordinary vehicle. Its wheels were made of charred bones, and its frame was crafted from twisted, blackened iron, pulled by 4 horses from hell. The horses had eyes that glowed like rubies. The carriage moved without a sound, as if it were floating just above the ground. The driver was an ominous figure, cloaked in tattered robes that blew in the wind. Despite the stillness of the night, his face was never seen, hidden deep within the shadows of his hood. But it was his voice that struck fear into the hearts of those who heard it, a voice that was more a whisper than a sound, more a shiver down the spine than a word. The legend went that the carriage came for those who were marked by faith, those who had committed unspeakable sins, or those who had crossed the boundaries between life and death. Once the carriage arrived, there was no escape. The doors would crack open on their own, revealing an interior shrouded in darkness, darker than the night itself. Anyone who stepped inside or was forced inside was never seen again. One fateful evening, young Maggie, who had always dismissed the old tales as mere superstition, found herself alone on the road leading out of Blackwood. The sky was pitch black, and a thick mist had begun to swirl around her feet. As she walked, she heard the faint sound of hooves behind her, though no one else was around. Her heart began to race as the sound grew louder, closer, until it was right behind her. She turned slowly, and there it was, the carriage from the old stories, as dark and foreboding as the tales had described. The horses snouted, their fairy eyes locked onto hers, and the driver's hooded figure loomed over to her. Maggie's legs felt like they were made of lead. Unable to move, the door of the carriage swung open with a low grinding sound, and from within a voice called out to her, a voice that echoed in her mind, promising eternal torment if she did not enter. Panic seized her, and she bolted, running down the road as fast as she could. But the carriage followed, always just behind her, no matter how fast she ran. The fog thickened, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly before her. Exhaustion began to weigh her down, her breath becoming in ragged gaps. Finally, as her strength gave out, Maggie stumbled and fell to the ground. She felt the cold skeletal hand of the driver close around her arm, pulling her towards the carriage. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the mist. As the door of the carriage slammed shut behind her, the town of Blackwood was plunged into an unnatural silence. The fog lifted, and the night became still once more. But in the days that followed, when the townsfolks found Maggie's belongings scattered along the road, they knew what had happened. The carriage had come for her, just as it had for so many others before her, and as the legend warned, those who enter the carriage from hell are never seen again, lost forever in the darkness beyond this world. Thank you for tuning into this eerie tale. Until next time, stay tuned for more spine-chilling stories. This was Sandra Pink.